This
So welcome,
conference will
Heath.
now be recorded.
Welcome, Heath. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Special Agent Heath Hardwick with Homeland Security Investigations. He is been in law enforcement for your entire career, and just do me a favor, give me a little bit of background about the early days in law enforcement, and then how you got to working with the forensics on child exploitation cases.
Sure. I began my law enforcement career in 1995 in Alpine, Texas. I was a police officer there, regular patrol officer while still going through college at Sul Ross State University, working nights and going to classes during the day. Graduated in '99 from Sul Ross State University with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I stayed with the police department still all the way through 2003. My last 3 years with the police department, I was assigned to the DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration's task force, where I worked drug cases coming along the borders of Mexico up into the western part of Texas. We had 3 main Border Patrol checkpoints out there that we were responsible for investigating. During those 3 years, I got to meet some agents in Presidio at the U.S. Customs Service and decided to go the federal route with my career and start working for the U.S. Customs Service. That was around the time I made that decision when 2001 hit. So U.S. Customs started to change towards the Department of Homeland Security. I was accepted for a position in Presidio, Texas, which is right on the border of Ojinaga, Chihuahua, Mexico, in West Texas. It's kind of the bottom dip of the western part of Texas. I was there for 4.5 years, working drug cases at the port of entry, and also some alien smuggling cases that occurred out in the Van Horn area. So after 4.5 years there, I went to Midland. Back around 2007 is when I transferred into Midland. And when I got there, one of the first things I wanted to do was get into the computer forensics field. So in 2007, I went through the training at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. Once I got through that training and was completed, then I started working my own child exploitation cases. While working those cases, I got to see some of the worst and started noticing common trends that children were having to deal with people lying to them or catfishing them online, trying to get their personal information. In that part, it's when I started doing my outreach presentations to students in school, from everything from how to be an HSI agent, cyber safety, all sorts of different types of programs to teach kids the online safety that I could. And then around 2015, I decided to make a switch and head out to Corpus Christi, and we moved out here and brought the outreach program here with me. Got away from the computer forensics field, stopped doing the computer processing part, and just started getting into the investigations more. I kind of got a little burned out just going through pictures all the time, and things were just, it's easier to investigate them than just sitting behind the computer and finding the photographs. So since 2015 till now, I've been in the child exploitation unit, working closely with my partners at the Corpus Christi PD ICAC unit, Internet Crimes Against Children. Detective Alicia Escobar and Detective Mike Ilse are 2 main contacts there that we work all of our investigations with pretty much on a daily basis. And it's been a great transfer for me personally and professionally to work in this area. It's been a challenge, and I've really enjoyed it.
That's awesome. I don't know that everybody necessarily knows what catfishing is, so tell us a little bit about that.
Catfishing is pretending to be somebody that you're not, in a way to kind of coerce or entice somebody to follow you, such as, say, a 40-year-old man pretending to be a teenage boy or a teenage girl to have somebody follow them and have communications with them. So the catfishing is just a way to reel somebody in and have them think that you are somebody that you're not, in an effort to try to get personal information about them, that you can come back later with a different profile, or maybe even keep that same profile and try to entice the children that way to get information, photographs, whatever the case may be.
You say to follow them, and to me that following is really an Instagram kind of language. Did you find a lot of that going on that particular platform, or were there others?
Surprisingly, probably the most common one we're seeing right now is Facebook. I would think some people nowadays think that Facebook's just for the old people, that that's what their parents are doing, but kids are on Facebook and being enticed through Facebook just as much as Instagram, TikTok, um, and all those other apps. Probably the most common increase that we're seeing right now is an app called Discord. Discord is an app that's used by gamers, specifically kids and young adults and older adults that play games, and they communicate with one another to discuss how to play games, how to do certain things within the game, the cheat codes to get better access to the game. But within Discord, you can share photographs, you can have personal one-on-one communication, and unfortunately, I'd say the last 6 months, we've had several cases come through our investigations that are involving Discord, with sharing photographs, inappropriate communications, uh, child exploitation mainly.
So, I'm not familiar with a lot of that video gaming stuff. Neither one of my kids big gamers growing up, and so it kind of really kept me out of the loop. So, as a parent out of the loop, I've never heard of that platform. How could we be more in tune to, what's out there that we possibly haven't even heard of?
To talk a little bit more about the gaming aspect of it, I know a lot of parents would just like to have the kids go to their room and put on the headset so they don't have to hear the noise and the commotion going on while playing these games. But leaving the headset on children while they're playing these games, you really lose out on who they're speaking to, what kind of language is being spoken to their child, and it really kind of disconnects you from your children, especially during this pandemic. There was a lot of downtime and not a lot of schoolwork going on. So children, and over the summer, they've had a lot of time to be on these gaming systems. And a lot of them talk about Discord as a way to share their information. And once they start sharing information through Discord, well, then you can start asking about, well, what is your cell phone number? Can I FaceTime you? Can I communicate with you that way? It's just another way to access children through the app. So I would say, as far as the gaming goes, Discord is probably the primary app that we see. And then after that, I would probably lean more towards Snapchat, Instagram, and Facebook as well, just for the communications and the one-on-one where they're able to talk to one another.
You'd mentioned TikTok, but I know there's a lot of talk about kind of eliminating that from the U.S. platform of apps anyway. Is it a problem also in this realm?
I have not received a TikTok cyber tip where people are sharing images through TikTok. However, TikTok right now is currently owned by a Chinese company. So if China is seeing any type of illegal behavior going on, I don't know if they would know how to report it or who to send it to report it to law enforcement. Because a lot of our apps that are out there, like Discord, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, if they see illegal content going back and forth on their platform, then they will notify the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, and they will generate a cyber tip and give you an IP address where that illegal activity is happening. And that's where a majority of some of our cases are coming from. But for apps that are out of the country, such as TikTok in China, Kick, which is located in Canada, and some companies are starting to put their servers in foreign countries, such as England, which it doesn't prohibit us. It just makes things very hard for us to investigate when these servers are in other foreign countries to get the information that we need from them. It just makes for a longer process. So we start seeing that across the border server location that can really make things hard on us.
Why would companies want to locate their servers in foreign countries?
Well, for them, it allows them not to have to report things. It allows them a cheaper location for storage. It just kind of takes a lot of responsibility off of them. If I'm going to open up my own company and I can put my server in a country that doesn't have to abide by United States laws, and I don't have to monitor and report things that are illegal, then it's one less thing I have to do. And if I'm Snapchat, which fortunately is in the United States, But with Snapchat, they made their program to delete photographs as they come in after 10 seconds. So having that option and that feature on your app, it keeps your server size smaller because you don't have to maintain photos and data for so long like Facebook. Facebook server storage is incredibly, it's enormous how much data that they keep. But if you're a small startup company like TikTok or Snapchat and you're just getting started and you make your stuff disappear after so long, you really don't have to worry about server space or maybe even having to report anything to law enforcement. You just hope it becomes a big app that it has become, and you collect money by having those advertisements on the app, and you make your money that way, regardless what's going on in the app.
So I know you speak to a lot of parents about the, safety, internet safety for their kids, and you also speak to kids. And I know that those programs look different for both parents and children. What would you, obviously our audience today are parents. What would you tell them that they need to be, obviously, watch out for this one gaming app, but to be most on that lookout for?
The most common app?
Or just signs, just whatever, just things that they may not be aware of, other than, of course, this gaming app that seems to be. What other apps might?
I would caution just any apps that are hidden on the child's phone. If they make an effort to hide anything on the phone, like on an Apple phone, you can put it in a folder and you just keep moving it under a subfolder, another subfolder, or you have to swipe the screen many times to hide that type of information. If they're trying to conceal it, those are areas I would look into. Searching a child's phone for photographs and text messages, that's really kind of the tip of the iceberg when it comes to searching your child's phone. You really have to go into these apps. If they have a Snap account or Snapchat, you want to go look into the direct messages that are being said and what's being communicated in those areas. Who are those friends? A lot of children, they base their popularity on how many people are following them and how many people they follow. So if your child's being followed by like 8,000 people on Snapchat, that would be a big concern, because anything that they post or put out there, 8,000 people are seeing that photograph. Same thing with Instagram. If they're posting to their story, anything they put out there, people will see it. And I think children, they forget what's in their background. They forget that things that they post that they're proud about may be an easy way to find them, such as they're wearing their Gregory Portland Wildcat t-shirt, and I see that on the screen in their photograph, their profile picture, and I go to Google Maps and type in Gregory Portland Wildcats. That's only one location where you can be at. And if that same child is in their front yard and they take a picture of the house behind them, and I can see that street address painted on the side of the house or down on the curb, now I just got to go to Portland or Gregory and drive around in that neighborhood where that 200, 300, or 400 block number is, and look for that house or look for the car in the driveway to help me find that child. It's just kids, I think they become so excited to be seen and heard, especially if they're being ignored at home or don't have a lot of friends. Their outlet is online through strangers being able to talk to somebody. I think also open lines of communication with your children is extremely important. When you talk to them on a daily basis and you get to hear what they say and what's going on in their lives, and instead of being disconnected, you want to know how they're doing. You talk to them, hey, how was school today? Or how did things go? And they're like, same old boring thing. But the next day you talk to your child and they're shut down and they don't want to talk about anything. At that point, there may be an issue there, and you want to really dig deep into that. Why did my child just shut down all of a sudden in that one instance? Some of the other things that
good advice.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Something I never thought about was just the idea of them wearing a shirt that might have their school, that's posted in a photo. That's super interesting information. But
or something else we've seen, like their email address or their username on these apps may say 2021 or 2020, and that would tell me the year that they graduate. Or even if you have a child that puts in 03, 04, or 05 on their username profile or email address, and that can tell me that they're 16, 15, or 14 years old just doing the math. So things that they think they're kind of tricky with or trying to hide, it can really lead to who they are, what grade they're in, and where they're actually physically located at.
And they don't really necessarily, they're not necessarily thinking that somebody's after them or might be interested in meeting them or abducting them, heaven forbid, or that there's malice out there with such small little bits of information. But, you know, unfortunately, we know there is a big evil out there that does lurk looking for, you know, to devour those weak, our kids. So, so you said, you know, some of you were talking about how to hide apps. I'm going to tell you, my kids have iPhones. I work off an Android. I really don't know how to work their stupid phones. I mean, and so for parents like me that aren't familiar with even how to find a hidden app, because our kids are always so much more technologically advanced than we are, or, you know, maybe not your kids because you have your line of work, but the average parent doesn't know how to do all of that. Could you give us some tips?
Sure. When it comes to the Apple phone, the iPhone, what you want to do is go into the App Store and start researching what apps, like we've talked about Snapchat and Instagram and all these different, and Discord. Look for those apps, and if you don't see them on your child's phone immediately on the Apple iPhone, go to the App Store, and if you see you find the app on there, and to the right of it, it just has a box that says open. That means that app has not been downloaded on the Apple iPhone yet. However, if you do see a picture to the right, a picture of a cloud with an arrow pointing down, that means it's been downloaded onto the phone before. Now, if you do see that, you have the app, the Discord app, and the picture of the cloud and the arrow pointing down, but you go through your child's phone, but you can't find that app, that means that they've deleted the app. And the smarter kids will access the app, put it on their phone, use it, and then when they're done, they'll delete it so that if the parents look at the phone, they won't see the app on there. So that's a common tactic with kids on the Apple iPhone. When it comes to Android devices, I believe it's the store where the apps are located at, and you can go there through the history and just look to see what apps have been downloaded through the Google Play Store, and see exactly what's been done to the phone. So like I said earlier, just going through the photos and going through the text messages, that's really the tip of the iceberg. You really have to dig deep into those phones and see exactly what's been going on.
What are some good, you know, obviously that's going to take your kids off, right? You're not trusting them, your nose. I mean, so maybe what would be some good advice for parents to be able to gently, you know, kind of get their kids to understand why they're doing what they're doing without, you know, ending up with a hot mess on your hands?
Well, I think in the beginning with me, with my children, the main thing I did when they were younger, I had their cell phones in our bedroom, and I would always charge them on our nightstand and keep them there. And that was my time to go through the phone and see what was on there. And I kind of changed my tactics later on when my kids got older. Is more of an open communication, like, listen, I'm looking for these things because of this. I see this at work, or I've heard of these things going on. And my daughter, you know, she's fantastic. She'll say, hey, this person on Instagram is sending me a friend request. Do you know them? I'm like, no. And she just deletes them. So having that communication with them, you know, to share that information, what I see, my concerns are, I share it with them and they share it back with me. Now my son, on the other hand, he can be a little tricky. So with Hayden, it's a little different. You know, you have to, you know, have that. You still got to be on your toes to be looking for what they're doing, but also have that trust in them that they're going to come and tell you the right thing. You know, I can't stress the communication, because you don't want to be that really creepy parent, you know, but you want to have that communication. But you still, if they go to bed at 10 o'clock and at midnight they're dead asleep and they don't know what's going on, I've gone in there before and grabbed that phone at midnight and gone through the device to see what's going on. So those are some things I've done personally to be able to keep a tab on their phones and what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm always a big proponent whenever we're speaking to parents about the tactics that traffickers use, is to educate their kids as well. And so they are savvy to the fact that this person that's suddenly wanting to give them the world might actually have alternative motives. And then, I mean, the kids then will say, oh, well, you know, I had this I had this situation happen or that situation, they start to kind of open up about those things and just educating them that that's probably the person's intentions are probably not as they're saying they are.
Correct. And you'll see a lot of the tactics being used by people looking for children, just time. If they know the child's home alone as soon as school's over at 3:30, they will be on that phone with them the entire time to give them the time that they want. They're just looking for attention. They know they'll probably eat dinner around 6 or 7. They'll leave them alone. Then towards the evening or even late at night, they'll start talking to them again to give them the attention that they want. So, parents, I understand we are worn out and tired and working, especially during this pandemic time. We're really stressed out, but it's really the good time to bring the family together and talk and have those communications, those honest communications about what you see, what you're hearing, and you want them to be able to communicate with you as well too. But they will. I mean, I've had one trafficker one time ask for the girl's address, and luckily he didn't go to the house, but he was sending like an iPod, or he was sending all sorts of electronics to her as another way to communicate with her. She didn't have a phone, but she had her Xbox that she could communicate on. So he sent her an iPod so she could tap into the Wi-Fi and be able to communicate with him that way. So it's always just a way to access the children any way possible.
Right. Sometimes, yeah, it's really difficult to keep up with technology to begin with, but then we put so much in our kids' hands that they really have the time to devote to learning it that we don't. And so I do kind of agree with you a lot. Open communication is really important, but then a lot of times, we do have one of those kids that you can communicate all day long, but they still want to do what they want to do and are sneaky and a little stubborn and think that bad things can't happen to them.
Right. And sometimes it's not just the children on their own figuring it out. If they have their friends that tell them what they can do on these devices. So when they were in school, they have a chance to bounce ideas off one another, or their older brother or sister comes back from college during the summer break or spring break and says, hey, look what I found online, check this out. And next thing you know, the whole school knows about TikTok, or they know a new app that's out there. So a lot of the education between the students is also another factor. So if they're hanging out with the wrong crowd, they're going to get some wrong crowd type information too. So.
I will let those that are with us know, if you didn't realize, that Heath has been to several of the schools around our district or the surrounding areas, districts, and does talks with kids about internet safety. What does some of that look like when you're talking to kids?
It usually depends on the grade level that I'm speaking to. For students that are in the 7th grade and above through high school, they get the same presentation. So 7th graders and seniors get the same presentation about what the state laws are in Texas regarding being in possession of child pornography. They also understand what the federal laws are, especially when I start talking to the juniors and seniors that are getting to that adult range and how they're communicating with people. I also share stories of cases that we've had and what's happened to our victims, the statements that they've told me, like they just want me to go grab that person's phone and get rid of their pictures so nobody can ever see their photographs that are on that suspect's phone. And I tell the students that, unfortunately we can't do that. That's considered evidence, and it has to go to NCMEC to be kept in a library forever, so that we can make sure that their photographs are never shared, or if they are shared, we have to notify our victims. I also share with them the Amanda Todd story, a young girl in Canada who was cyberbullied online as well as physically bullied at school and ended up committing suicide, and share some information with the students about what her mother told me during a conference several years ago when I had a chance to meet her. So just mainly trying to make an impact on them. It's not, some might say it may be a scared straight type thing, but if they take it that way, so be it. But a lot of it is just giving them the information to make the decisions that they're doing. We talk about, if they do take a photograph, like do they really break the law if they're in their own bedroom with the door closed with their cell phone? Have they committed a crime if they take a photograph of themselves that's nude? And honestly, they have. And in fact, they've actually committed 2 felonies when they've done that. One is that they've created child pornography, and number two, they're in possession of child pornography now because it's on an electronic device. So just trying to get the information to children about what they're doing on these devices and the people that can have access to them, and trying to help them make the right decision.
And then once that, obviously, they were to send that picture, they can never get it back, like you were saying, you know, and
Yes.
it's out there, it's then out there for the rest of their life and beyond.
I mean, there's grown adults now who were children when cell phones came out that made those bad mistakes, and cell phone pictures of them are still circulating on the web today. I see a question here from Tina about can speak on the issues of sexting, and that really is it in a nutshell. I mean, the use of the cell phones and sending photographs, that once they send that picture, it can't be brought back. I tell them also in the presentation, you know, we have a lot of software in our lab where we can find deleted photographs on a cell phone. But the one thing that has not been developed yet is a way to go online and find a picture of them and remove it so no one else can ever see it. Because once they've hit send, it's gone forever.
Yeah, that's very scary. So I guess Tina directed right to you. And does anybody else have any questions they would like to ask Special Agent Hardwick? Feel free to type it in your chat. We got a couple of more minutes here. Are you seeing anything different that traffickers are using now?
In the very beginning, around March, when the pandemic hit, we saw a lot more blatant type messages coming out as far as making money, because people were losing jobs and it wasn't such a hush hush deal. It was more like, are you out of a job? Do you need help? Contact us for modeling. You know, they really did focus on those that were struggling without money. So we did see the terminology and the verbiage in those posts online where they're trying to traffic people and young girls. We did see that type of wording. It actually became more blatant. It was more like, you need money, we're here to help you out. And that was really the big change that we saw.
You know, something I've learned this past year with our kids being a freshman in college that I had never heard of is sugaring or sugar daddying or whatever, and that there are actually apps out there. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Trying to entice people with money, you know, the Gucci bags, the clothing, the new cell phone, new iPhones that when they come out, that's a big ruse to try to get them to want to come and be with that group of people. What we've also seen are the girls who've already been trafficked before come back and work under these people that are trafficking the girls. So what they'll have is an older girl that they have abused and trafficked for many years and broken down to the point to actually working for the actual trafficker, and they will use them as a way to either go into the schools, whether it's college or high school if they're young enough, and just walk around with the flashy clothes, have all the nice things that the girls are looking for, makeup, shoes, and just put on that front that they're with somebody that can take care of them in a modeling position. And by doing that, it's a way to entice these younger girls into the trafficking industry with drugs, or they're even seen here in the Corpus area, people that are homeless. You know, there's a big, if they're young enough and they're on the streets young, then they'll traffic the younger kids that they can find them on the streets, whether it's on the street corner waiting for the bus, whatever the case may be. It's really, the imagination is limitless when it comes to trying to find young girls.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, I've been a little obsessed with the whole Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, all of that news, and that's exactly how that looked. Is she often was the one that brought the girls into the situation, and it's unfathomable to me, but apparently happens a lot. And those girls trusted her because she was female.
Right.
And she was a female with a lot of money.
True, and I think what that does for the one in the middle, you know, the older female that's bringing the girls in, her attitude is like, well, if I get these younger girls below me, then I don't have to work and do the things that I don't want to do. So in a way, they're pulling themselves out of that situation and using the younger girls to prevent their own trafficking, So the mindset from their different viewpoints is so different. The older girl is just trying to survive, and if I have to get these younger girls underneath me, so be it. That's just one less thing I have to do, and one less uh, you person I have to work under.
Gotcha. Well, we've got one question we'll ask real quick, and then I think we'll have to wrap up. So what's the landscape / snapshot of what we see going on in Corpus Christi? If I missed this in the beginning, sorry. So what would you say that the landscape / snapshot of what you're seeing locally?
I think it's very, very underground. I don't think it's as blatant as we hope. It's the most common thing when it comes to trafficking. I like to say it's a circuit throughout Texas. The traffickers are coming through from different parts of Texas. They work in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They work the Houston area. And Corpus is mainly seen as the vacation spot during the tour of Texas. They come down here. The promise is we'll go down there and hang out at the beach, and it turns into a trafficking session for a couple weeks. And we really, in law enforcement in general, you have that very limited open window to be lucky enough to try to catch those that are here coming through. Because trafficking victims say they're here, then they're gone to the next city, then they get moved to another city, and working in that whole circuit along the way. So I think that's kind of a hard thing to find all these traffickers. I think some of it is going on, but at a really low key level between two people. We have a case right now. Let's see how much I can tell you. It's it is really a true trafficking case. Involves a parent taking photographs of a child and sending them to another person. And it was just a one-on-one, but it is trafficking in all definition of it. It is. But it's really like on a very low key level. It wasn't like multiple people coming through. It was just that one parent pretty much trafficking the child to take photographs and send them out on a one-on-one basis. And those are really hard to find. In this situation, we were very fortunate that a witness saw something and said something and was able to open the case wide open for us. So it can be kind of those really two variables: people coming in for just a temporary amount of time to traffic people, to look for Johns working in this area or looking for girls in this area, and then moving on quickly, and we only have a set window to find them. Or it's a one-on-one issue going on in town, and only those three people know it: the victim and the two people responsible for it. So I would say that's probably the typical thing that we're seeing right now: a one-on-one or two-on-one type trafficking thing. Very, very low key.
And anybody can be that one person when you see something to say something. You never know, it could absolutely change a life. Well, Heath, we've got to wrap up. We've gone over our time, but it's been so great to have you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk to everybody.
Well, thanks so much. I appreciate it. It's good to see you always, and keep up the great work. You guys do an amazing job. Really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the time and the invitation. If anybody has any questions, feel free to contact Minta. She can get you in touch with me, whether it's things on your child's cell phone or questions in general. I'll talk to anybody. Doesn't matter.
Thank you for that. That's awesome. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.